to... Hello. Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my live today. I hope you're doing well. It's a warm summer here, really hot, but we're managing. How are you doing? How is your family? How is life where you are? Tell us where you are, where you're watching from. It looks like I may have to separate the Acholi video from the English videos because I've got some comments where people are saying because I have to weave in both languages, I'm losing them somehow, or I'm not obviously keeping things tight and connected the way I should be if I were flowing in one language and then in another. So I will be doing separate Acholi and separate English videos. So since I'm doing English today, tomorrow I'll have the Acholi version of the same content. Okay? And thank you for the feedback. I really would like to know how I'm doing so that I can change or fix or, make sure the information that's coming across is coming across correctly. So thank you for that feedback. My Acholi people, Joma lo le Acholi, abi karo video mo kerne ki le Acholi dire. Tien netam ne ko a pop kena pian tie dan ma wajne piana ber ka lokolep lok pe kati pe lud de kita miaro bet kere piano kid lokolep ngongo gini kena mo kerne a loko jami ma no pe lobo ko lep money mano a ki yeni. So abi timu leba chuli pat ki lep mono enemy. So tomorrow I'll be back with the Acholi version. Today I'll speak in English. So thank you for being here today. Thank you David Muganga, and thank you Joseph Mwanguzi. You're welcome to my live today. So many things are happening in Uganda, and that's our main focus, obviously. At some point I will talk about general things about life, about how we all can improve each other, including me, how we can set goals and achieve them and things like that. But for now, we're fighting for Uganda, a free Uganda for everyone. Uganda that works for every person, especially Ugandans. We're trying to take Uganda back, away from the Rwandese and their aspirations for Uganda. So we are here, first and most importantly, for Uganda, okay? Eventually, we'll talk about other things, and there's several things to talk about or learn from, or we'll learn from each other, some other things, but eventually. For now, my main focus, my dream, my hopes are for a free Uganda, and so any contribution I can make, I'm more than happy to make sure that happens. So, speaking of which, so many things are happening in Uganda as of today. Hello, Patrick. Welcome. So many things. A lot of diversion, obviously, while the Rwandese try to move their affairs and their aspirations. I'm also going to come back with the Kabano topic. I know I've mentioned it a few times. I think that is going to help us understand how we got here, from where we came, from how the Rwandese influence has affected Ugandans to this date, and whatever they hope for their future in Uganda. So I'll be back with that eventually. But today I want to talk about some things that are mostly in the limelight. We saw the arrest of our dear Dr. Miriam Matembe, the former Minister of Integrity, Gender and Integrity. I mean, if Miriam Matembe has become a rebel, or Miriam Matembe is the worst person according to the Museveni people, imagine those who do not hold any positions, have no prior positions, and what type of, how do they consider them to be? The Edimutwes, who were just not anything. They were not aspiring for positions. They were not looking to get to become members of parliament and things like that. But they ended up in prison. Imagine if the irony of having the Minister of Integrity, Dr. Miriam Matembe, arrested like a thief, like a chicken thief, and taken to prison for several days, incommunicado. Everything that's wrong was displayed, amongst other arrests, obviously, in the arrest of Dr. Miriam Matembe. Because the person she is, because of what she has done. Miriam Matembe is one of the original few who actually sat down and made the Ugandan constitution. Can you believe it? Dr. Miriam Matembe. And so that goes to bring me to the history and the reason why Miriam Matembe was treated this way. So when they speak, a lot of things are happening as Museveni tries to pass on power to his son. Hello, Sylvia, you're welcome. Fortunate, thank you so much for coming. Enoch, you're very welcome. Pressure Kupresha, you're very welcome. I like that name. So anyway, as Museveni endeavors or tries to move power from him to his son, several things are passed in communication. When Museveni was still coming into power, he did so many things in secret. And for us Ugandans who at the time totally believed in Museveni, they were completely blindfolded. Most of what Museveni did was under some sort of disguise that we didn't, because of a lack of knowledge, because of a lack of suspicion, we didn't think otherwise. We did not question Museveni. So when Museveni came to take over Uganda, because he started with siasa, with erasing what people knew and expected and filling in with his garbage of people wanting change and yearning for change, and him speaking the language of change, people were super blindfolded. Everything that he did in the dark that we could not perceive as negative, today we see clearly, thankfully, because Muhoozi is executing and exercising everything from his father's playbook in plain sight. But we've already turned a corner. We're already suspicious. We're already worried. We're all concerned that everything this guy says, we question, like, what is he doing? What does that mean? What else does that mean? How many things does that mean? So when Muhoozi comes out to execute these things, these are the actual things that Museveni did at the time that he came. Now is when we realize, because we're comparing, several things are being said in the corridors. Several things are told to Muhoozi in form of advice from his uncle Salim Saleh, from Museveni, his father, from the other generals and the cabal that existed throughout this time. The ones who existed with Museveni are now the advisors of Muhoozi, and in passing, as they communicate, so much of that is leaked. So in a way, we are thankful for Muhoozi being here because he's bearing his father naked. Same thing with him as an individual. He is now going to pay for his father's mistakes. All of what his father did in the dark, Muhoozi is doing publicly. And so smearing himself in the dirt, including his father, because in his tweets he references his father all the time. There is no Muhoozi without Museveni. There's no Museveni without Muhoozi. Therefore, all their crimes that used to be history, Joseph Kony, camps and how he treated people, the disappearances of Kaira and all these people. Now we know that the killing of Janani Luum, all those are now coming to light. We're like, you know what? I remember that. At the time, yes, I remember. Now we're connecting the dots. And it has all along been Museveni. We are all along this has been Museveni's actions, not Obote, not Idi Amin, not anybody else, because they look the same. It has been different presidents, yes, but laced with Museveni throughout. Obote, Idi Amin, Tito Okello Lutwa, all those people, since Museveni came in the 1960s, or he talks about the 60s and the 70s, since Museveni came, he has been in action, and it's been non-stop. So we are thankful for Muhoozi and everything that he's doing, because it's everything his father did and more. And the good thing is that he's tying them together. Every time he says, my father said this, or I'm going to speak with my father, or my father approved this, I'm going to do this. So when he does something, it's tied to his father, and he's completely soiled with it. So we are thankful in disguise, even if it's hard to believe. Muhoozi is really, truly setting Uganda for change. Okay? Muhoozi is providing all the evidence we need to incriminate Museveni. Not like we don't have enough, but he's doing it every day that he does whatever he does. All these, sick orders, the arrests and all of that, it happened in the past, but people never paid attention. So it's time, and we are thankful that this idiot was born and is doing what he does now. So speaking of Miriam Matembe and her arrest, she presents as that because she's been very outspoken. So the story behind Miriam Matembe's arrest, okay? When they sat in the beginning, when the constitution was being made by CA, Constitutional Affairs, is it? The few people who sat together to prepare the constitution and put it together were Miriam Matembe amongst other people, including Museveni, okay? It was obviously with the authority of Museveni that this happens. So Museveni gets a group together and says, we're going to put together a constitution for this country called Uganda. Miriam Matembe was one of those people. Miriam Matembe all along has been outspoken, has been very, very for Uganda, and to make sure that everything that is going to be put in that constitution, she made sure that it was revised, it was revisited, it was talked about, it was ironed out, it was for Uganda and not for any other nationality. So what happened was that there's a book that's going around with a page where Museveni promises not to arrest ever or kill Miriam Matembe. It is an agreement that they made during the time of the CA establishment when they tried to put together the constitution. So what happened was during the putting together of the constitution, after Miriam Matembe and the group of people had done it and done it all well, Museveni was offered, to read through and make sure that everything is done right. And Museveni, remember when he came, he had come with some Rwandese people and obviously wanted to make sure that he set a place for them in the constitution from the beginning. So because Miriam Matembe has been very vigilant, Museveni always felt like, this woman is something. He wanted her to be there, but she has always been powerful and vocal. So what Museveni did was, after the constitution had been put together, the book had been approved and all of that, when it was ready to be signed by Museveni, obviously the president at the time, when they went to meet for signing and commissioning to say, okay, officially this is the Ugandan constitution, Museveni, with a copy that he has, presents the copies to Miriam Matembe and the other people who were involved to take a look at the book that has been produced from their hard work, the Constitution of Uganda. And Miriam Matembe and a few others look in the book and see other leaves that were added that they had not been part of their meeting, that they had not agreed to add to there. And a few of those leaves pertained to Rwandese or Rwanda. To say that Rwanda or Rwandese are a nationality of Uganda at the time. Remember, internationally, international treaties, sovereignty of different nations does not allow for another country to call another sovereign nation part of it. Therefore, Rwanda or Rwandese are not supposed to be Ugandans officially or part of any other country, because they are a sovereign nation with their own practices and constitution and president and so on and so forth. So literally, if a Rwandese person vigilant enough, I know they're super interested in Uganda, if they decided to pursue this and sue for the fact that they were included in another country that they're not supposed to be because they have sovereign powers of being a country of their own and managing their own affairs, this could get Uganda in trouble or get the president, that so-called Museveni, in trouble. But so what happened was Museveni, always thinking ahead and being catty like. He decided to rewrite and include a few leaves that pertain to Rwandese people being a part of Uganda. So during the meeting, when he presented the books, the copy that Museveni had is the copy that was adulterated to include Rwandese. So when Miriam Matembe got a hold of this book, she said, we did not agree on this. I don't want this to be part of this. She has always been a thorn in Museveni's shoe because she is outspoken and wants Uganda for Uganda. Museveni went ahead to say, we had talked about this. These people, I came with them from the bush. I can't just let them be. They helped me get a place, get to this place. They fought for the freedoms of Uganda. Meanwhile, these are the people who killed a lot of people in Luero. There is no definite good reason for Rwandese to be in Uganda. There's really not. They started from the bushes, like Museveni says, to just try to take over this country. Every endeavor has been about being wrong to Ugandans. There is no place for Rwandese goodness, ever. Never displayed, never. So because Miriam Matembe insisted and said, this is not what we agreed upon. We are not signing this one. This is not what we agreed upon. Then there was a few other people who are part of this meeting who talked to her and said, let's just work with him. Let's allow it. We can give it a temporary period of time and this, that, and the other because they helped fight the war to get us here. Somehow Miriam Matembe was talked out of this fight and she agreed. And there were some promises to her to make sure that, this would eventually come off the books, eventually, without staying and making this a law or part of making Rwandese a part of Uganda. So Miriam Matembe lets that go. But since then, Museveni says it, and the agreement between them was that Museveni would never hurt Miriam Matembe, never arrest her, never kill her, because apparently, as always, Museveni sets the deadline for most people's life. That is how come Miriam Matembe has existed alongside Museveni, even if she has said the most bitter things that are true, and she has continued to live. But now that after Museveni made that agreement with Miriam Matembe, enters PLU and the Sun. So because of what Miriam Matembe has been saying the last few months, shaking up, what's the norm, telling the truth, calling Muhoozi, the son who has been with a golden spoon in his mouth all along, all these things, that Museveni does not know what to do with Miriam Matembe because of a promise that was made, which she has written in a book. It's something that she has documented and has been shared world over. Museveni is now in a corner. Miriam Matembe is speaking. Museveni is concerned that if Miriam Matembe continues on this trend, she can cause a toppling of the country, of the presidency. So Museveni says, my son, Muhoozi, because he's trying to hand him big jobs, okay? Because remember, Muhoozi has never done anything and never achieved anything in his life. In a way to get him to do something difficult. In a way to make him not unafraid of disrespecting Ugandan mothers. In a way to embolden him. Wait until I get to Cedric Babu. You will be concerned. And I'll tie that in together. In a way to embolden his son. In a way to make him grow up. He tells him, I have an assignment for you. Because Museveni cannot touch Miriam Matembe on his own accord. He sends his lumpen to go and try to do something to Miriam Matembe. He says this woman has to either get killed or arrested and locked up and never released. So Muhoozi takes on the assignment and runs with it. Miriam Matembe is picked up and all these things happen. The media, all this and that happens in the media. She's arrested, incommunicado, and produced just like the other people. So Muhoozi, the reason why I say the coming of Muhoozi has undressed Museveni of all his evil all along. Everything that happened to Dr. Miriam Matembe, including the fact that being who she was, a minister of integrity. I mean, integrity means knowing right and wrong and doing right and wrong and standing for right or wrong, standing for right where there's wrong. Miriam Matembe becomes the criminal in their eyes. So, in essence, what Museveni is trying to do is to empower his son, to embolden his son, to be able to break whomever. If they say, go and pick up Sejusa, you know, we won't think twice about it. And also to get Ugandans conditioned with the fact that this guy is a scary crow. Muhoozi can do this to anyone. Imagine if he does that to Miriam Matembe. That's the picture they're trying to put in Ugandan people. Okay, so the fact that he did that is to embolden him and also to try to get us Ugandans conditioned and afraid of Muhoozi. But more so because Museveni can no longer touch Miriam Matembe. He gave the assignment to his lumpen to go and do it. That is why Muhoozi did this, and that is why Miriam Matembe ended up that way. Muhoozi is struggling, Museveni is struggling with people who speak up, people who say anything. The media, the outlets that are outspoken, the outlets that speak the truth, individuals that are powerful, that command an army almost. Miriam Matembe commands all the women in Uganda. You know what I mean? Sarah Birete, huge. All these powerful people. He's trying to break their spine so that they can no longer speak. I'm sure they offered Miriam Matembe all sorts of, let's give you this, or you don't do this, or you don't do that. But Miriam Matembe is not the kind of person to be bribed. Okay? So you are going to see more of a trend like this. In fact, at State House, where I get all of my super security alerts, there is a major security alert I shared yesterday about the arrest of Honorable Betty Namboze from Mukono. Museveni has ordered that Namboze be picked up, beaten really, really badly, and to a place of disability, so that Mrs. Betty Namboze is no longer able to walk. So they said by Friday, you know, as I speak, sometimes when I say certain things, they will change this and that or the other. But know that their intention, when they capture somebody like Sarah Birete, like Miriam Matembe, you know that they're edging for the valuable opposition, because they don't want anybody to speak. They basically want to turn Uganda into a North Korea type of arrangement where nobody speaks. All media houses get their news from State House, which is biased, obviously, which is the house, the brain of human rights violations in Uganda. That is the intention of what they're doing. The closure of Monitor and the other two media houses, NTV. The purpose of doing that is to be able to stifle honest opinions of Ugandans. But people like Dr. Miriam Matembe and the rest, what Museveni and Muhoozi don't realize is that some of us and the rest who are speaking up or speak are even more empowered, because with the arrest of Miriam Matembe, so much else went out. So much media went all over the world. Miriam Matembe is not a simple person. And I'm not saying anybody's life is less of a value, but Miriam Matembe has been and shaken the rest of the world by her arrest and her being treated like Muhoozi did. Same thing that happened with Dr. Miss Sarah Birete. Same thing. You know, as much as they feel like they're stifling Ugandans, they are breeding a lot of other support for Ugandans. I tell you, the son of people like Gaddafi were the people who helped bring down their father. All of these dictators were brought down by their own that they bred. In-house. Their own children, their own spouse, their own somebody. So Muhoozi single-handedly is dropping his father's whatever he's used to be completely. And this government is ripe. It's right where it should be. Right where it should be. Change is imminent in Uganda. The closure of the media houses went viral, international. Communications came from all over the world. BBC, the people who are concerned, the people who always do, you know, the ones who communicate, the ones who are allies. Senator Jim Risch, he sent a message and said, we need to reconsider our ally and working with Uganda from now on because of things like that. So whatever Muhoozi is doing, I know that it hurts, but I'm telling you, the positives are enormous, enormous, enormous. We just have to figure out how to keep people safe. For example, when they abduct and do things like this and that. So my other person that I want to tie into this case of Dr. Miriam Matembe is Cedric Babu. Cedric Babu's case, like I said, Muhoozi is undressing his father. Cedric Babu's case is a mirror reflection of everybody Museveni came with from the bush. The people who ushered him into power. When I say that, I mean the Ugandans who helped him step up and get where he is. Cedric Babu was a die-hard friend of Muhoozi. A dear friend. I'm talking about, you know how he's a womanizer and all, right? Muhoozi has that home that they say is for, what is that wealthy guy that their proxy who has a home on Lake Victoria. That gentleman that is the young gentleman that lives, the one who owns Nachivuba Stadium, Ham Chigundu. That home of Ham Chigundu is Muhoozi's home. Cedric Babu and Muhoozi went there often to do their own guy stuff and all of that. You know, they're good friends. They hang out together. I mean, they drank together. They did whatever they do together, okay? I'm talking about a best friend for a very long time. Cedric Babu is just like the son of former minister Bukenya, the former minister of education, Bukenya. Bukenya had a son who grew up with Muhoozi. You know, the big guy's sons. At the time, Bukenya was one of those powerful people in Uganda at the time when his son was going through Sandhurst, going through school. Besides Andrew Mwenda doing his Muhoozi's exams at lower level. Yes, thank you, Joan. Thank you, Babidi. Yes, Giovanni, thank you. It is Ham Chigundu. At the time that Cedric Babu was going through, at the time that Muhoozi was going through Sandhurst school, Bukenya's son, they were parallel, same age group, they went to Sandhurst together, they learned all these things together. He helped Muhoozi a lot through school at Sandhurst, you know, because Muhoozi is not that kind of person. Sylvia, don't forget the lady who got killed. Yes, I'll talk about her. So because all these helpers of these people end up disappearing or dying mysteriously, the same thing that we're going to see during Cedric's case is what happened to the people who helped Museveni come into power. Cedric Babu was a best friend of Muhoozi. Muhoozi and him tried to figure out how to become or take over the NRM without assuming all the seniors or the older people of Museveni into his government. Cedric Babu put together PLU. He said, you know what, I have an idea. We can start something for the youth to run alongside the NRM, or younger NRMs to run alongside the major NRM group. Cedric Babu put together the organization, put together all of the rules. Excuse me, they hired all the members, and there came a time after Cedric Babu had done all these things and handed the keys and everything to his dear friend Muhoozi. You know, somehow, because he put it together super brilliantly. This is the same scenario that happened with the son of Bukenya. When Bukenya's son had learned all these things, helped Muhoozi finish Sandhurst and all of that, when I talk about Bukenya's son, think about Cedric. When I talk about Cedric, think about Bukenya's son, because same exact thing happened. And then after that, transfer that to everybody that worked with Museveni, the Kairas, all of them, add them to that, compare them, parallel. Mirror reflection, same thing. So, Cedric Babu puts together PLU, hands it to Muhoozi and says, my dear friend, I think this is how we can do this. Cedric Babu was the one who suggested the Muhoozi run, Remember when PLU had that run in Kololo to try to negate the Kabaka's run somewhat? All of that was the brain work of Cedric Babu. Now, after some time, when it was all settled and Muhoozi is starting to run PLU and it's starting to take off, Museveni calls Muhoozi and Salim Saleh come together and say, you know what, Muhoozi, I know that Cedric Babu is a really good friend of yours. And I can see that you guys, you know, you're doing really well together, but we're afraid that he's really, really brilliant. And if Cedric Babu can put this together for you, imagine if Cedric Babu turns on you and starts something new. Imagine that you will never survive something like that. So we have a suggestion for you and something that we want you to do because it's going to make you stronger. It's going to make you more powerful. And if you do this, anybody else is going to be a non-issue for you to get rid of, if you must, because they've misbehaved, because they're trying to take over you, because, you know, they're seeming like they want to snatch your government. After Cedric Babu did all these things, Museveni and Salim Saleh and Andrew Mwenda and all of them decided that Cedric Babu is now a threat to Muhoozi. The same thing that happened to Bukenya's son. What they decided was that Bukenya's son, if he came up alongside Muhoozi, he would be a huge challenge to Muhoozi because he was brilliant. He was an articulate guy. He was coming up to be something. And Muhoozi had nothing on him. You know, everybody that works for Museveni has something on them. Either they have crime they've committed, lots of fraud, which I'll speak with you about that also. Lots of activity that they've done. Either Museveni set them up or they did it on their own, and Museveni dangles it over their head like this. So because Bukenya's son was clean, there's nothing to do there. And to tame Bukenya, they had to do something to trim him up. So they told him that you must kill Cedric Babu. And Muhoozi said, no, I couldn't do that. And the father said, you must. Salim Saleh said, you must. In that conversation, they talked about a lot else that Museveni has done as examples to Muhoozi. And all this information as they speak, as I said, Muhoozi is undressing his father every single day. Everything, whoever Museveni got rid of, he told Muhoozi. He said, you see that guy? You see the one who did this and that? You see Kaira, the way he was coming up? We had to do this. And Muhoozi said, why don't you kill his father? Why does it have to be Cedric? He said, no, the father is a barking dog, an old barking dog without teeth. This one is your competitor. This one will finish you if you let him be. It took Muhoozi a very, very long time. They told him, if you do this, you will not be afraid to get rid of anybody above you, below you, anybody you love, anybody who you care for, anybody you've done anything with, anybody you haven't done anything with, any foreigner, any indigenous person, anybody of importance. You will not think twice about doing away with them. So they're emboldening Muhoozi to perform without fear or disgust or favor or anything. I am talking a best friend that they do all this, everything together, everything. Muhoozi resisted for a while. They kept talking to him and gave him examples. They said, you remember this guy, Kaira? We did this to him. You remember this guy, Yiro Jok, who did this? We had to do that. Remember this other person, you know, we had to do that. You know, the reason why Bobby Wine is out there, it's because we couldn't get a hold of him. But if we could catch Bobby Wine, he wouldn't be here today. Remember so-and-so. So Museveni referenced a lot of people who he has killed to secure his position. Securing his position. He talked about the Muzatas. He talked about the people who, you know, the archbishops, the bishops who died. He talked about just anybody that he had to trim to get out of the way because he felt they would either command an army, like people like Dr. Miriam Matembe, because of what she says her information. That is why they decided Muhoozi should kill Miriam Matembe. So he anyway went ahead, and with a lot of hesitation, Muhoozi killed his dear friend Cedric Babu. That is how Babu died. Because he feared that Babu would eventually become something. Because he put together PLU successfully. That is why Babu is not here. And I feel bad for his father. But he worked for a government and served him for so many years. And I'm sure he knew about certain things going wrong. But when these people are in positions and places, they don't see left or right. Even if they know what happened to their predecessor, they will not make the right call. I'm not celebrating that happened to to Babu's father or Cedric Babu. But I'm saying this so that we know. Hopefully the Kabandas will know that this is their future. Anybody progressive in Uganda today, especially working for these people, has a very limited time on this earth. And it doesn't matter what you do, because it's not enough. Let me tell you about Anita Among. Anita Among had become something. Too much. And because Museveni has been being pestered by the Western world to deal with corruption and deal with these things, plus she had already been sanctioned, Anita was already a cancer in Museveni's existence. So before the speakership race ended, Museveni called Anita Among and said, you know, I would like to show you something. And when I show you what I'm going to show you, I would like for you to drop off the speakership race and let it continue as I'm going to prepare it. And he handed Anita Among a file. You know, there's several files that Museveni has. For example, Nabanja. Museveni has tons of crimes, of corruption, of all manner of things from the Prime Minister's office. Nabanja has a file. Everything Anita Among did with the Commissioner's office in Parliament is filed, and Museveni has them. As I said, Museveni does not put you in a position without having something to dangle over your head. He doesn't give you anything or give you a job, a job to do that has nothing to do, and without him having something to control you with. As I said, all the pastors and priests and so on, he has videos of them being, you know, what they're not supposed to be doing. There are videos that are recorded, that are documented, that he teases them with if they refuse to do something. So he called Anita Among and gave her a file and said, look over your crimes, see what you've done. Museveni says, I know all these things that you've done. And Anita Among looks at everything and says, I understand. Museveni cautions Anita Among and says, do not speak to any member of parliament anymore. Do not call them to your home. Do not meet. Do not discuss anything else. As soon as Anita Among left the meeting with Museveni, she started calling these people and said, you know what, I'm here. He's just teasing me. He's bossing around. A few days later is when they climbed on Anita Among and started catching this so that. I don't know if some of the items might have even been staged, but Museveni knew how to bring Anita Among to her knees. To date, Anita Among is on house arrest and cannot come out to go anywhere freely as a Ugandan. Even if she committed those crimes, she has never been tried and will not be tried because Museveni does not want her to speak. So she's not going to go through a formal process, due process, as she should. But of course, Museveni will find a way to stifle Anita Among, and soon you will hear that she's no longer here. I did bring some security alerts, and I did let you know that their plans were evil on Anita Among and Mr. Magogo. But that's not where Museveni stops. That is just an example. Today they've picked up other people. It may be some sort of diversion, but it is something that is happening that goes to show you that despite Museveni being or acting as if Muhoozi is the new clean-eyed or active leader of Uganda, everything Muhoozi is doing, Museveni has done. Everything. And worse. everything Muhoozi is doing. There's a gentleman called Katunji. Katunji was the former UK chapter leader for NRM. Katunji has been around the world. Katunji has been to Qatar. Katunji has been to several different places operating for Museveni. This is how these people work with you and use you and then eventually end with your life. Because with Museveni saying Anita cannot speak with anybody, it means that he's going to control her for the rest of her life. Now, it is worse with this Katunji person. Katunji is wanted by the United States on arms dealings, drugs, and other contraband that he was doing with cartels in Mexico and other places, you know, arms embargoes and things like that, violating treaties all over the world about transactioning or dealing in arms and things like that. Katunji has worked for Museveni all along. It is no surprise that Katunji is caught up in a drug deal because Salim Saleh and the First Family are the biggest cocaine, marijuana drug dealers in Uganda. In fact, they have farms of them in Uganda. Okay? When somebody from Uganda is dealing in arms or military this or guns and this and that, it is not for the benefit of any Ugandan. Again, it points to the First Family. The Museveni's family is the one that directly sent this guy to go and make those deals and perform those activities. Now, they pretended to agree to extradition to send Katunji back to the United States after they took him to Luzira. He went through some sort of court hearing, remanded to Luzira, and all of a sudden, Katunji is said to be very ill and taken to a military hospital. What that means is two things. They will never release Katunji to the Americans to be treated the way he should be. Katunji has a better chance to live if he's extradited to the United States. But staying in Uganda in the hands of those people, Katunji will soon be announced or pronounced dead because the Musevenis do not want the truth to be told. I am sure if Katunji came to the United States, a plea deal would be easy to get him speaking, and he would tell the truth and the whole truth, and all the Museveni people would be incriminated in that truth. So they're fearful of that. They will not release Katunji to the hands of the American people like it has been agreed in the letter that requested extradition to the United States. That will not happen. Therefore, Katunji will not live. He will not. He will not live. So he's lucky if he goes to the United States. But I'm telling you, this is somebody who ran for office in Changkwanzi. He was a member of parliament, elected, a member of PLU. Had this case been a thing that has happened to National Unity Platform, anyone, anybody, you would hear. But because it has happened to someone of theirs, they're trying by all means to see that it doesn't come to the media, it doesn't get talked about, it's not further discussed. You know, nobody's going to take responsibility of all these things that Katunji has done, all the arms dealings, you know, over $150 billion that has been exchanged, over 500 AK-47s that were transferred here and there. Nobody's going to take responsibility, especially not the Muhoozis. Especially not. And yet, this is an executive member of PLU, that criminal organization. PLU is where this guy belongs to as an executive member. He's not just a regular member. This guy has been used by Museveni for many, many years to deal in guns and deal in ammunitions, to deal their drugs from Uganda to wherever else in the world they can get it. Katunji has been in the middle of this. But I'll tell you that Katunji's best luck is to go to the United States and live, maybe for the rest of his life in a jail cell. At least he'll live. In Uganda, Katunji will not live. No, he won't. He will not. but they've decided not to hand him over. Okay? There is something about Kwagala Hospital in Bujuko. There is a security alert that I got yesterday that I didn't share right away. But apparently Maristops I know is an organization that operates in Uganda that provides medical care here and there. They are a non-profit organization. But it is likely that because many non-profit organizations were shut in Uganda and closed by the Museveni people, because now they're afraid of everybody who comes to Uganda who is foreign because they think they're spies. Maristops has been taken over by these Rwandese people, and they're using this organization to go and plant or kill some people, plant viruses or give people injections that are false and this, that, and the other. So if you see Maristops in your area, warn your relatives and friends, because they're not doing what they used to be. Their original purpose of being in Uganda has been convoluted by the NRM, the Banyarwanda, and their dreams. Okay, so Bujuko Hospital in Kwagala Hospital in Bujuko is where they are going to have their next meet, where they're going to be injecting people with, they claim it's vaccines and all these things. But a vaccine, being that it's a virus anyway, they are, oh goodness, Eve, thank you for sharing that. Eve is saying that it's a hospital that specializes in abortions in Uganda. Oh, that's something. So Bujuko, people in that area, just let them know that they shouldn't, because when they're vaccinating people, vaccination is a good thing. It happens all over the world. But how do you vaccinate people and don't give them documentation to show that they're vaccinated? You vaccinate them at home, you go and vaccinate them at school, you go and vaccinate again in the marketplace. Anywhere that you meet people, you give them a vaccine. What are you giving them? And why are you giving them so much of that? Okay? So it is a problem. Bujuko people, be aware, and please make sure you let more people know that it is the Rwandese people who are operating Maristops. It's no longer an organization that is for its original intended purpose in Uganda. It has been taken over, and you will see that the operators of Maristos are Rwandese people. But in any case, if they change the people coming to do this, just know that it is not well intended for Ugandans. Why are you getting vaccinated left and right, and there's no documentation to show what vaccines and when you get the next one? But what is it that you're getting so often? Okay, so that's a problem for the people there. So as I mentioned, everything that Muhoozi is doing is just exactly what his father did at the time that he came to power. There are a few ministers of Museveni that are leaving to go into exile. I have a lot of sun in my face. A few ministers of Museveni and a few other members of parliament, people who are well-to-do, people who are able to do certain things, are leaving Uganda and moving to other parts of the world where they can seek asylum because the boat is sinking. I'm not going to say their names because it puts them in danger. Some people are well-intended for Ugandans, so I couldn't expose, especially if they're running to safety. But if I ever know somebody who has done so much wrong to Ugandans, I'll expose them. I'll give you the names. So far, I'm not going to. I will just mention that the swamp is draining. And for those of you who are still there, just pay attention because it's coming to you. Okay. So let's talk about corruption. A lot of things are being said about corruption, and they're arresting so and so and the other, here and there, everywhere, every time. Let me just mention this, that corruption stems from State House. There are a few arms of government that are fested and live and survive and are made of corruption day in, day out. So when they come out and say Anita Mong this or so and so, this, that, and the other, they're really not fighting corruption. Museveni has always allowed all these people to do certain things while they're in power. He only dismisses them or lets them loose into the right hands of power after he has already used them and is ready to let them go. So when they talk about the commissioner's office and all these places and what they've done, the biggest corrupt person in Uganda is Museveni. The family that is most corrupt in Uganda is Museveni's family. The most corrupt office in Uganda is the State House of Uganda. It is the only place that collects supplementary budgets upon supplementary budgets, including a budget that is called a classified budget. A classified budget is a budget that you don't question. When it comes to Parliament, they say we need 25 billion shillings. It is a classified issue. You know, they'll act like it's something to save Uganda or whatever. They'll say it's a class, and that money is released. All that money goes to the Museveni's family. All classified, all supplementary goes to State House Museveni's family, nobody else. Ugandans are struggling, impoverished, stuck in life, but all the money there is that's available that could be moved to do things for Ugandans is taken personally and individually. Mr. Louis Rubongoya shared something today about corruption, which had to do with how much money is being stolen, and yet so many areas of services are not met. Okay, but let me tell you the main offices that are involved in corruption. The State House is number one, obviously, because of supplementary, non-supplementary, and classified budgets that come in, day out, and take money all the time. The legal arm of government is the other one. So much money gets moved in there, somewhat, from one hand to the other, without documentation. There's so many suits that go into the courts. For example, the Greenland Bank gentleman, Chigundu. He went to court until he couldn't go anymore. Because of technicalities, they made sure that his case is stifled. And through that legal process, they were able to make sure that he lost his bank. The Greenland Bank that used to be for the gentleman Chigundu in Uganda. That is the legal arms of government. And that area is fested and infested with corruption. The other one is the police force. The police force is one area where I don't even know where to start, because everywhere that they are involved, money passes through hands to stifle legal processes, to make sure that whatever goes, whoever has the most money wins or gets free. And whoever does not have anything, obviously, ends up in the bars. Okay, the other department is the military. Supplementary budgets that go towards the military are endless. Endless. Classified budgets that go towards the military. It is no wonder these Katunji people are caught into traps, because Museveni is constantly amassing himself with military this, ammunitions all the time because of the fear. You know that Museveni no longer sleeps in Nakasero? Because apparently they've said there's too many foreigners in Nakasero. That area, the Sheraton Hotel, all those hotels and foreign operated businesses are the reason Museveni no longer sleeps in Nakasero. He actually has to leave every single day to be taken to Entebbe, and that's where he spends the night. It used to be that the State House in Nakasero was the one that he spent the night. But obviously, because of the threat, everything that he has sowed, that he's reaping now, he's fearful for his life, and he gets a lot of security alerts saying that he could easily be toppled or he could easily get hurt by staying exposed in the Nakasero area. So it is likely, it's already been done, that he has moved away from Nakasero and goes to spend the nights in the State House in Entebbe. The other area that spends a lot of money, obviously, is where Anita Among has been, the Parliament of Uganda. The commission, there's no time that Parliament stole this much money, more than Anita Among's speakership. No other time Uganda spent this much money more than Anita Among's speakership. The monies that were shared in the commission, the gifts that were given, like to Mpuga. I saw something from Kabanda today saying that Mpuga will also get picked up for what he did in the gift that was given to him. So despite being sent, ordered, requested, supported, encouraged by Museveni, it is time that now they become the sacrificial lamb. It is time that even if Museveni allowed them to do all these things, he's made comments like, at least they're investing in Uganda, even if they're still in Uganda, the money is coming back to Uganda. But do you know how many people lose the services because all this money is being stolen? What is Mpuga alone? $500,000, 500,000 Uganda shillings. That's a lot of money that could be used to do something, but it was given to him as a gift. Chris Obore, so much money went through Chris Obore, signing instead, giving himself some and sending the rest to Anita Among. So there is no way Museveni can say that he's trying to fight corruption, because Museveni himself is corruption. Muhoozi himself was raised on corruption. His own existence is corrupt. Muhoozi, a person who has never earned anything in his life, that is corruption in itself. So Museveni cannot teach anybody how to behave about corruption, because they are everything that symbolizes corruption. They are corruption itself. Okay? So whatever Muhoozi is doing is exactly what Museveni would do. All the abductions, Museveni did himself. People like Lina Zadriga's husband, Dr. Lina Zadriga's husband, he was disappeared in 2021. He has never been seen. Kaira was killed by Museveni after ushering Museveni into power. Museveni himself took the liberty to do that. To do away with him, because he feared that if Kaira disagreed with him and regrouped, he would potentially take out the government. So in efforts or in a smear of fighting corruption and all this, they are actually the origin and the only problem Uganda has in terms of corruption. There is no, had Museveni been removed, or let's remove the whole family of Museveni, there will not be corruption in Uganda. Do you agree? There'll be no corruption. Because it's not how we operate. It's not how we do things. The people who are stifled are Ugandans. We would have systems that are set correctly to help our people live better. But because they want to exist only for themselves. Tomorrow I'm coming to speak about the land theft in Acholi land. It's amazing. Salim Saleh has made it his business to buy up all of Acholi. There's a place called Kaunda Ground in Gulu. The land theft in Gulu is crazy all over northern Uganda. I have heard that Karamoja has become the newest Rwandese pad. Everywhere in Karamoja is infested with Rwandese. Because Karamoja being so remote, not having a lot of, the social media is not that, that active in Karamoja like it is in most of Kampala. Social media, radio, TV, because of the lifestyle of Karamojongs, it doesn't allow for them to live like people live in other areas of Uganda where they go and congregate, at least, go watch TV at somebody's house. Karamoja is heavily affected by these Rwandese people. They kill Karamojongs day in, day out. There is not a single record of how many Karamojongs have been killed, when or where. Karamoja used to be empty. Without any, water source was a problem. Karamoja was the place that suffered famine the most. Karamoja being a desert climate. People of Karamoja have suffered duly for the longest time, especially when Janet Museveni became the minister of Karamoja. All that time Janet went there was to map out how they can live, how to migrate her people, the Rwandese, how to stifle Karamoja further. Because what has happened now in Karamoja, the Rwandese coming in and taking over lots of land and building up communities, they have now found a way all of a sudden to dig for water. Water wells, boreholes, whatever you can think of, to give the Rwandese a soft landing in Karamoja. Meanwhile, when the Karamojongs existed in their land freely, they were deprived of all these things. Everything was not allowed for Karamojongs to have. Karamojongs were the people who were abducted in millions and brought into detention centers, torture chambers, safe houses. There's thousands of Karamojongs missing. Karamojong is the least documented part of Uganda in ways of population, wealth, poverty. All those items do not exist for Karamoja. Karamoja is like the forgotten part of Uganda. So Rwandese are in Karamoja like no tomorrow. They're everywhere. Water wells have been drilled. Everything has been done for these Karamojongs. I mean for the Rwandese. While they continue to kill Karamojongs day in, day out. Anybody that's outspoken in Karamoja does not live. Anybody. If you see for yourself what is happening in Karamoja, it is appalling. It's appalling. Just like northern Uganda, where they're day in, day out chasing the people out of their communities, buying land from whomever, forcefully evacuating people. It has been so scary that the people send me messages and say, speak, please tell these people tell people what we're going through, because it's too much. What is happening in those regions is too much. Central, Western, Eastern, you are fighting a lot and you're doing such a phenomenal job. But there are regions of Uganda that are still being put down consistently every time. It is a struggle. Karamoja, one of these days, you know, we are going to hear, because there's not many structures. It is not in their lifestyle to do things like that. They have no capability, no ability, no hospitals. I mean, if you think there are no hospitals with medications in Kampala, think about Karamoja. Think about Karamoja. So Karamoja is really in dire straits. National Unity Platform has worked really hard to get some supplies to Karamoja, but it is not enough because the people of Karamoja are wasting away every day. Rwandese have occupied that place like no tomorrow. Whatever you can do, if you can do anything for Karamoja, please do. Karamoja will fall off the face of this earth as a people. It's crazy. It will happen. Unfortunately. Any day now. Any time. Okay? Pray for Karamoja. Do something for Karamoja. Pay attention to the rest of Uganda. Document as much as you can, because we are going to lose some people, as we have already, for certain places and areas. So this facade about corruption, PLU exists as a corrupt entity. PLU is like a rebel group. PLU funding has no source. Where does PLU get money to do what it does? To exist. While they don't want to give National Unity Platform what it's supposed to get. Why does PLU have this much funding to do all these operations, and yet they're not even an entity? They're not NRM, they're not anything. Why? But we are thankful for Muhoozi, because whatever he's doing is what his father did all along. And the best part is that everything he does, he ties in his father. That means they will both be prosecuted together. Same crimes every day, day in, day out, because he makes a reference to say, my father this, my father that, and his X account is one of the best things we have from this gentleman. Because what a fool he is, that he talks about everything and writes about everything. But it is not foolish, because as we said, you reap what you sow. what Museveni sowed many years ago is reaping either through him or his son Muhoozi. So whatever you're doing, Muhoozi, please continue. Yesterday, he actually tweeted and he said that NRM did not win an election, that Bobby Wine won the election, but he stole the election. So keep speaking. We are documenting. We are taking notes. We're going to use it. We're using it every day. We're making you popular, but not in the light, in the right light. Not in the right light. And I don't think you know it, because you are never told no. You are never told to stop. You just operate like a robot, and that's going to land you in trouble. I'd like to speak about my comrade, our comrade, Lumbuye Fred. What Lumbuye has done for a country, Uganda, is beyond commendable. When Lumbuye came out in the beginning, many people shunned and said, oh, yeah, I think he's just looking for content. People said, oh, you know what? I think he's a disgruntled person. Maybe he didn't get a position or didn't get this or that. But Lumbuye has been for Uganda, has been everything that Uganda needed to have their minds blown open to show them truly what's going on. We thank you, Lumbuye, for everything you've done. And we stand with you for everything that you can, everything that you have given, everything you continue to give, whatever everybody has said they could say, but many, many Ugandans learned more than they would ever have from you. And if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. I would not be here had it not been for Lumbuye. Lumbuye opened the door for so many of us, but also Lumbuye empowered us with information that we now can use sufficiently to fight for our country. Lumbuye will go down in the history as one of the most important human beings that ever lived in Uganda since Independence Day. Lumbuye has revealed and unveiled things that even the Muhoozi family cannot believe could leak. Lumbuye has become we have never been in a place where we need to support and fight for Lumbuye like this. There's never been an important time like now, because all the eyes of the oppressor of Uganda are on him. Their biggest plan is to see to it that they destroy Lumbuye. Their plan right now has been set in motion at the Ugandan embassy in Turkey. In that embassy are people from Uganda and their main job is to see to it that Lumbuye is arrested and Lumbuye is extradited. And if that's not possible, because international ties may not allow for that to happen, that they do away with Lumbuye while in Turkey. There is a lady in, hold on one second. There is a lady in Turkey. Her name is Cynthia. I'm trying to get, let me find I have a document somewhere. There's a lady who works for the Ugandan embassy, but is also an operator for the Museveni family in Turkey. Works for she works for Museveni's people. Obviously being Rwandese, that's automatic. They have sent her on a mission to go and work with the local police in Turkey to see that they can arrest Lumbuye on a regular arrest, like a traffic violation. You know how the police come to your house and say, we need you to come to the police station to testify on something. Or we have something of suspicion that we need you to go to the police station. What they want to do is work with some rogue police officers that can allow for something like this to happen. They will go, and it's possible because I know that in those countries abiding, they're not like Ugandan police. So I'm sure they're going to make it possible that they can trick the police and try to register a violation of sorts and say that Lumbuye Fred Kajubi has done something and we are reporting to you. As the police, they will act. They'll go and get Lumbuye from wherever he is because he's not in hiding. He's in a free country, unlike Uganda, and they can find where he is because he's in their country. They will go and pick Lumbuye and bring him to the police station where Faith, that lady called Faith, I think it's Faith or Kathy, I'll share the information on my page, will come in with her poison prepared, and it could be in any form. It could be on a document, it could be in an envelope that he'll open up right before Lumbuye. It could be on anything that Lumbuye will then ingest that poison, and it will slowly start working on him. And in their hopes, Lumbuye will obviously found not guilty of being held for whatever reason. So they'll let Lumbuye go. Charity, Faith, I think it's Faith, Charity, or Kathy, one of the three names. It's a Rwandese woman that works at the embassy in Turkey of Uganda, but is a Rwandese woman on a mission sent from State House to come and do this to Lumbuye, to poison him on a regular police invitation for investigation or whatever. Then Lumbuye would go back to his living quarters and something would happen to him. The poison that he's ingested will sort of work on him. And that's their plan. You know, when I think about people who live abroad in a lot of fear and the choices they make to continue fighting for Uganda, somebody like the gentleman of Dog Nation, the South Africans being evacuating a lot of Africans, when these people choose to stay in a place like South Africa, where they're being killed day and night, or hounded or chased or whatever, over Uganda, their own country, it means everything. It is a sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice, they call it. So anyone who can help in the fight for Lumbuye, there is not a better time. Let us do it now. Because everything he has given, being that he's a Ugandan, a true and faithful Ugandan, whatever we can do, let us do. In fact, the UK has a peaceful demonstration at Sandhurst. They're going to Sandhurst because at Sandhurst, Natasha's son has also joined military school. So is Muhoozi's son. They're in the schools, in that school, learning how to come and torture Ugandans in the near future. Once those kids leave the military, they'll come and start rising up the ranks like no other. All other Ugandans who have earned their position will stay where they are, while these young kids ride up those ranks like no tomorrow. So whatever you can do for people who make the ultimate sacrifice, like our brother Lumbuye, I call him Sir Lumbuye because he has done an amazing job in teaching, educating, unveiling Museveni, undoing what Museveni has done, protecting the Kabaka and Buganda. Lumbuye has done what an army would not accomplish. And I'm talking an army of 500 plus men. Lumbuye alone has fought endlessly without any question, any second thought, without any of that. Without anything, without thinking twice. I'm sure Lumbuye lives as though in faith, of course, he lives in faith, But can you imagine how much freedom has been cut off from Lumbuye just being who he is? Just how many freedoms, even if he's in a foreign country. Threats left and right. I mean, everybody of the opposing of Museveni's people has tried to get Lumbuye. All of them. Obviously now it's been passed on to this idiot. And he's trying, but international law cannot allow for extradition without a crime. He can't. Turkey cannot move Lumbuye, cannot give Lumbuye to Museveni just because they want him. No. Foreign country sovereignty does not allow for it. But whatever you can do for Sir Kajubi Fred Lumbuye, please do. He has done the most. I'm here as a trained candidate of his. I watched, I learned, I found guts, I found strength, I found ability to do this because he did. He paved the way. He made this possible. So whatever we can do, let us not allow for this despot, Museveni and son, to come for him. I know they're trying, and they're going to try, and they're going to try. But stand with Lumbuye always and forever. It means everything to our country. It means everything to the freedom of Uganda. Because without him, they want to do whatever they will. And if they get rid of people like him, and Asim Wawile, and so many others who publicly speak, the light of Uganda will grow dimmer. Dimmer. Every day. And I'm not saying that there's no way, there's no other way. No, there'll be people that will spring up, for sure. But what Lumbuye has done, the trust he has put in everything that he does, how much he has put in there, the sacrifice, the time, research, education, training, everything Lumbuye has done has been for the good of Uganda. So we stand with you, Sir Lumbuye Kajubi Fred. We will fight with you. We'll make sure that what they're planning will not happen to you. We'll make sure. Okay? I'd like to close. I'll be back tomorrow with my Acholi version. I didn't want to mix it up today because I heard a comment about, not losing people in the process, which is true. I can feel it sometimes that I miss out when I translate and don't, stay on track. And I lose other people and myself. So I will separate the two and do one in Acholi and one in English separately. So thank you all for being here. Let's keep up the good work. Let us stay positive. Uganda is right where it should be. Change is imminent. Uganda must change. It's going to. There is no way Uganda can stay this way. No. No way. Whatever they have sowed, and all these people, whatever each person has sowed, I think that's my greatest quote from His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. He says, whatever they have sowed, they will reap. They shall reap. So, as a Ugandan, make it a point to sow a good seed so we can reap. We will reap what we have sowed. Okay? I love you all. Thank you for being here. I will be back with the Acholi tomorrow and maybe some more in English. All right? I do have a channel now. Facebook recommended it. So I don't know how to operate it yet, but I will get to it. So look out for that. It will be coming up. But see you tomorrow on my next live. Okay? Take good care of yourselves. Let us keep on the fight. Let's fight for our people. Let's fight for Dog Nation. Let's fight for Lumbuye. Let's fight for everyone. Okay? We're peace-loving people. We are Uganda, and we love Uganda. People power, our power.